If you base medicine on science, you cure people. If you base the design of planes on science, they fly. If you base the design of rockets on science, they reach the moon. It works, bitches.
Yes, science!
Science does kill people.
Every time we can.
It does kill people.
Every time.
Well, not science itself, the application.
I'm sorry, I don't like Richard Dawkins.
No, that's fair.
That's okay.
I like some of his books, but something about him.
I don't think very many people do.
I don't like him. He's bad.
Polarizing.
Just stop killing people. It's just weird. Anyways, okay. So, how do I preface it? So my friend Alex Parker works on the New Horizon project. So if you don't remember...
That Alex Parker.
Yeah. AHPO. Anyways, I don't remember what the H stands for. You and I went to grad school together. Anyways, so he works on the New Horizons Project. So if you don't remember, it's this movement of people wearing yellow vests. No, I'm kidding. It's it's a space probe that they sent to Pluto to take pictures of Pluto. And that was a few years ago. So you remember all those pretty pictures of Pluto came out? That was from New Horizon probe. So then they specifically designed New Horizon to have extra fuel and have extra life, much like, what was the Mars thing?
The rover?
What was it when it was called?
Opportunity?
Much like Opportunity, the Mars rover, but to have an extended life, and they gave it extra fuel so they could see something else. Okay, so how do I start this? I guess I'll just start with what they discovered, and then maybe I found a really good article on space about it, so I'm going to kind of summarize it. So they found an object called 2014 MU69. I thought you guys would enjoy the 69 name of this, just because that's how we roll. Okay, so what it looks like if you take a picture. Okay, so sorry, I should maybe back up here. So this is an object in the Kuiper Belt. So Pluto is a Kuiper Belt object, and this object MU69 is also a Kuiper Belt object. The Kuiper Belt is a ring, I guess, of icy snowballs way out in the far reaches of the solar system. Pluto is a well-known Kuiper Belt object. It's not a planet; it's a Kuiper Belt object, and we went to visit it. Anyways, so
potatoes. They do look like potatoes.
Yeah, but it's not a they. Okay, this is one object. Oh. It looks like, just to describe for our listeners, it looks like two dirty snowballs, or kind of two, I guess, asteroids, I guess. It looks like a snowman, right? It looks like one's a little bit bigger than the other, and it's just kind of these ball-ish shapes that are just sort of gently stuck together. That's what it looks like if you go and look for a picture of it. We never actually been able to see something like this before, to actually take a picture of it. The only reason we have these high-resolution pictures of the damn thing is because we flew within like a few thousand kilometers of it. So it's super, super cool. Okay, so what's really cool is that we've never had a spacecraft sent to see something so far away. It is by far the farthest thing away that we've ever seen. It's 1.6 billion kilometers farther than Pluto.
Holy cow.
Yeah. And another thing really cool about it is it's the first object we've ever sent something to that we didn't know that we're going to see that particular object when we launched it. So this thing wasn't discovered until 2014. New Horizon was launched in 2006.
Oh, wow.
So we didn't know. Okay. So that's really, really cool. So I talked about Kuiper Belt objects, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so the important thing about Kuiper Belt objects is that they're sort of the remnants left from forming our solar system. So scientists study them in order to understand how our solar system formed, what it would have looked like in the early days. So back in the early days, it wouldn't have been made up of big planets. It would have been made up of little tiny small things, such as the objects in the Kuiper Belt. So those are the remnants of when our planetary system formed, which means it's really important for us to learn how it forms. So this object, MU69, also goes by the name Ultima Thule, which apparently even the naming of that was controversial. I'll get to that later, but because it's farther down in my article, I'd rather just get to that when I get to it so I don't lose the scroll. But we'll get back to that. But yeah, Ultima Thule is the same thing as MU69. So in 2003, astronomers all kind of got together and made some bunch of recommendations called the Decadal Survey. So what they did is they made a bunch of they kind of set a course for astronomy. We want to be looking at this over the next decade, and this was actually used well beyond a decade to kind of decide what astronomy would be looking at. And one thing that they highly recommended is that New Horizons should fly back by other Kuiper Belt objects, not just Pluto. Okay. So they're like, well, what the fuck are we going to look at? We don't have anything for it to look at. It's got to be near enough to Pluto. The Kuiper Belt is enormous. You can think about as you go farther and farther out, this Kuiper Belt goes around the entire solar system, but that's a much, much farther distance the farther out you go, right? We're talking like if the distance from the Earth to the sun is 1 astronomical unit, I believe Pluto is somewhere around just under 50 astronomical units. So whatever it is, 43 or whatever. So, I mean, we're way, way, way farther out there. Okay, so it's got to be something that we can get to and blah, 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 blah. So they started looking for something. In 2014, the Hubble Space Telescope located 5 potential objects, including Ultima Thule, or MU-69. And basically, through a series of observations on the ground and in other places, they decided that this would be the best possible object. So they decided, okay, this thing will actually save us the most fuel, and it's an interesting object. We're going to send New Horizon there. So like I said, they decided where to send it after the damn thing was like pretty much, 2/3 of the way to where its destination, which is pretty crazy. So in 2017, the New Horizon team requested suggestions from the public for a nickname for MU-69. The final decision, Ultima Thule, is a term used in medieval times that means, quote, beyond the known world. The nickname was submitted by about 40 different people. But the nickname spurred controversy because of its historical use by Nazi forerunners and modern use by extremist groups. However, the New Horizons team decided to stick with the nickname despite the potential negative connotation. I've said it a number of times. I think, the lead scientist on the study said that Ultima Thule is very old, many centuries old, like the term is, possibly over 1,000 years old, and it's a wonderful meme for exploration. That's why we chose it. I would say that just because some bad guys once liked the term, we're not going to let them hijack it. So they chose that name. So before the flyby, they used several telescopes on Earth to kind of try to get an idea of where the damn thing was and what to expect when it got there. So astronomers typically study Kuiper Belt objects by looking at occultation of stars. So there's lots of stars in the background, and what you do is you look for these Kuiper Belt objects to pass in front of a star, and then you figure out something about the object. So you can figure out kind of how big it is, or where it is, or its orbit, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So they use that to predict, and they actually could only look at very, very specific, like they had to, I can't even remember the names of it. They went to the countries of, I don't even remember. They went to like random countries in Africa, like the only place they could freaking see it. And they had to very carefully map out exactly where they expected it to be so they could send the probe there.
Right.
So apparently the probe actually did its flyby of Ultima Thule at midnight Eastern time on January 1st, 2019. So it just happened. This is an observation that's a month old. And before this, we never ever saw something like a smaller Kuiper Belt object in this detail ever. Like this is really, really new and really, really cool.
That's awesome.
So it did its flyby, and I really encourage our listeners to go look at pictures, because people like my friend Alex Parker took the images, and we've only gotten back like a few percentage of the data. Actually, we're waiting. It's streaming, and it's going to take years for the data from New Horizons to all kind of get to us.
Yeah.
So we're kind of it's like a. You remember the modems back in the 90s, and a picture kind of came in really, really slowly. So, I mean, it's kind of like data is kind of like that. We have a full picture, but yeah, but they're doing color analysis and all sorts of other great things. And people like Alex are doing a deconvolution of the images to kind of make them really sharp and see what's going on. It's really cool stuff that they're doing.
Ultima Thule is way better of a name than Asteroid McAsteroid Face.
I don't think so, actually.
Says you.
I don't think so. And apparently, so there's two parts. So if you look at, like I said, it kind of looks like a snowman. I think they've named the bigger part Ultima and the smaller part Thule. Okay. Yeah. And by the way, this is the most amazing thing ever. On January 1st, 2019, 12:33 a.m., New Horizons made its historic flyby of MU-69. Ultima Thule. Team scientists and engineers gathered at the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory in Laurel, Maryland, to ring in the new year and cheer for the moment the spacecraft's buzz the KBO, Kuiper Belt object. This is the best part. Brian May, a mission scientist and lead guitarist for the band Queen, released a new single commemorating the event, because he's actually got a PhD in astrophysics. Nice. It's just so cool. Anyway, so he's involved. But they didn't actually know if they had a successful flyby until 10 hours later when the data came in, because it takes that long for it to reach the Earth. So they did do a successful flyby. They have lots of really cool pictures. One of the most interesting things is they didn't really know, they actually didn't know if it was actually going to be two separate objects, like kind of orbiting each other very closely. But no, what they think this is a contact binary, which they've never seen before. We don't know, they were kind of theorized, but never knew it actually existed. So it's theorized, and apparently now it's true, that especially in the early solar system, small objects would kind of orbit each other slowly, and then they just kind of touch, and then so they're just kind of touching, and they're one object now, and they're gravitationally bound to each other, and they continue. But like the lead scientist in the article points out, if your car were to impact something with a speed, like you wouldn't even be a fender bender, right? Like they just sort of gently touched, and which means like they don't get destroyed. They don't bash into each other, make something else. They're just sort of. So this is like an example of like a super old type of object that we would have seen early in the solar system. So it's very, very cool. Yeah. I think maybe I've kind of pumped it up a lot, but that's basically it. But yeah, we still have the data.
That's really cool, though.
We still have the data coming in. There's going to be they're literally going to be analyzing it for years,
right.
And it's just super, super, super cool.
It is.
And are they?
Yes.
So specifically, that object they're studying, are they going to change their focus to other stuff?
Well,
or
they have enough fuel to do another object.
Okay.
And they designed the probe to have enough lifetime, so they're going to choose another one. And maybe years before they get to it, but they're going to choose another Kuiper Belt object and go there too.
Seems a little wild that they spent
all
that time setting up where the exact spot they needed to aim it at, and then
exactly.
It could have missed.
It could have, but it didn't. They did. Yeah, you never know. Of course, you never know, right? Until you try something, you never know. I mean, it's freaking 50 astronomical units away. I mean, 10 hours to communicate to the damn thing, and then 10 hours back. So, yeah, who knows? But it's just so cool, and so yeah. So, but certainly models of how this planet, how the solar system forms, how planets form, will certainly be informed by this discovery for years and years and years to come. Like just a wealth of, there'll be like dozens of PhDs coming out of this data and useless things that nobody can get jobs with. But yeah, it'll be amazing.
That's awesome.
Useless things that nobody can get jobs with.
Just as we were talking
interesting about that.
More interesting than freaking pipelines. to me. So this is what shows up in because I saw this before the press release, right? My friend just posted the picture because he just finished processing it on his computer.
Oh, neat.
Same thing happened with Pluto images years ago. Like he was like, oh, I made this. Check out what Pluto looks like, and like, oh, cool, Alex, thanks. And then it would be in a press release the next day. So
I get funny CAD videos in my feed. I think
I get those too.